Alex, and you're watching the Evercade Effect.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Evercade Effect. This is Ed, and you may have seen this video come up recently. This was created by my buddy Pete. He went ahead and did some speculation on new Evercade consoles coming in 2026. So I kind of got the idea to do a similar video, and if you haven't checked it out, his video will be in the description below. And we also talked about this on Evercast, so I want to go ahead and give my 2 cents. I think that 2026 is a little bit optimistic for Blaze to come up with a new console. Maybe they've been doing some R&D on this for a few years, maybe not. But I think right now, with the current situation in the world, with tariffs being the way they are, it's going to be too costly, right? I think that also the timing is going to need to be right. And we'll get to that here in a moment. I think that the top price on this has got to be around the $150 range, especially when you can buy other retro handhelds like the Retroid 5 that are around like the $200 price range or whatnot. And they can do Portmaster. They can play indie games and all that. And for those of you who don't know, Portmaster is a free application that lets you play certain legitimate games that you own, like on good old gaming and Steam, on a handheld. And I'll get to that in a moment as well. So I think for those reasons, the EXP, and you can see here these price points were like, around the $100 range. I think the EXP2 needs to be at the 150 with the carts being 40. And I think where Blaze really needs to tap into is the indie market. Yeah, I was happy to see Peach touched on that in his video. Like, Steam is so oversaturated with so many indie games that it's really difficult to see, what do you want to play? What do you want to buy? The Netflix effect, right? And I think that if we had a focused console on indie games with newer hardware, more memory to store whatever they need to store for the development kits and SDKs and whatnot, I think that Unity games could be ported over more. I kind of like Full Void, right? That was a great discovery that we had. I want to see more of that. Indie developers, it's easier to get licenses with that saturated market versus someone like Microsoft or Capcom. They're not really hurting, to go and be on another platform. So I think for one, they've got to go ahead and tap into that. There's a big market, I think, for those of you watching this video, myself, who would love a physical copy of a PC game, the booklet, the case, it could sit on the shelf like the good old days with the big box PC games. Except, they'd be the same size as Evercade carts. And we know we have gigabit carts. I think 2 gigabit carts wouldn't be too far off. I mean, could you just imagine some cool and undiscovered indies that are coming out in physical form? I mean, Limited Games and other companies, despite what you think of how great that company is, what they've done. Not really many other companies recently have kind of just tapped into that physical market. I mean, hell, Nintendo is having physical go away. Yeah, there's some physical still on the Switch 1, and that's why I mentioned with the price point has to be at the 150, because you may be able to get a used Switch or Switch Lite between the $150 $200 price range. So definitely indie is the focus, but we still need to keep us retro folks happy, right? So I think if they could do something have Saturn emulation be perfect, release Dragoon Saga, right? I mean, Saturn is huge. Maybe take some of those Japanese only games that were never released out here, have them be out here fully translated. What I don't want to see is Blaze making us buy all this new hardware, and then maybe we get one Dreamcast game or one PS2 game or one indie game, one game that's worthy of the new hardware. We don't want this to be the way of the Sega CD or 32X, where you get a slightly better game, but it's there really wasn't a reason to buy that module, or and in the case of the Sega CD, you've just got better audio. No, we don't want to see that. We want to feel like we got our money's worth. Of course, it goes without saying it'd be backwards compatible. And I would even be fine if there was just one cart slot, if they went back to that, if that was cheaper, right, without having to raise the price. But Xenocrisis, I kind of feel kicked off a lot of the awesome indiness on Blaze, and then we had the Duke Nukem 2 and 1 remasters, and then Blaze kind of lost its way and kind of slipped away from all that. And now we have computer collections, and we have arcade collections, and we have God knows what's in the Red collection. At some point, all that's going to get stale, and Blaze is going to need to come out with something new. And we know the profit for Blaze is in the hardware, because they're coming out with keychains and super pockets and revisions of the EXP and VS, calling them VSRs, and now we have the gray one, which is basically the same thing, but you can choose a game. So yeah, they need to release new hardware, I guess, to be profitable. I don't know. That Blaze doesn't release numbers. Who the hell knows at this point? But they need to give people their money's worth. We need to be made like, hey, we're spending this on the VS2 or EXP2, not just like for a bigger screen or just because of having like Bluetooth and being able to have official controllers. No. We want to feel like we have this more powerful console to get access to these exclusive games that couldn't run on the VS1. And speaking of exclusive games, I think the other thing that Blaze needs to do is start developing their own games in-house. Crack a deal with an indie developer. Maybe they go to the Evercade 2 for like 6 months or a year before it flips over to Steam and all the other platforms. I think that would be such a great opportunity for people who are kind of on the fence looking to get in, because the PC market is huge, and there's some people that are like, well, I would love physical copies of these games. I would love this discovery. I would love how this looks on the shelf. This is awesome. This could help me decide what to play with all the saturation and everything. So I think Blaze just kind of needs to hit it up, go in that direction. Otherwise, what are we going to see in the upcoming years? More of the same? I mean, it's very impressive with getting SNK, getting Taito. I'm looking forward to those collections as they come out. But I think we need more than that just to go ahead and keep Evercade fresh. The other thing that they need to do is timing, right? Timing is everything, especially when they release this, and they only have one shot. And what they need to do is they need to wait until the Switch 2 hype dies down. They need to make sure there's not like, a PS6 or like an Xbox, whatever the hell, the next number of series for Xboxes. And there's no Steam Deck 2. No news, no Steam Deck 2. Otherwise, this is going to get swept under the rug, and nobody is going to care as much. We need to wait for when gamers are thirsty and they need something, and the R&D is right. It can't have the issues like with the EXP one models that that came out and kept getting delayed. No, all the bugs and everything has to be worked out. It has to be perfect. The timing has to be right. Everybody has to have the interest. We need to have some fantastic indie games available upon release. Something fantastic like some great like Dreamcast or Saturn emulation. And then I think they have something really special here. And I think they're going to need to wait until 2027, maybe even 2028. They can't rush this. Blaze doesn't have the resources just to pull this out of their ass. So, anyways, those are my thoughts and opinions. Let me know in the comments below. What you think. Are you looking forward to buying more hardware and cracking open your wallet? If you get value for it, let me know your thoughts and opinions below. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks, Crashline, Immortal Sojourn, Amber Cummings, Joe Whitlush, Alex Groot!
Oh, yeah!
Do you want to cancel that?
At our expense. Hell, it's only money, as Rockefeller said.